For anyone who is new, we want to welcome you to Power Hour. Power Hour is part of the Women Back to Work program. We are part of Aimee, which is an IT staffing firm, and Women Back to Work works with not only great companies, but wonderful women who are looking to return to their career after a break. And that break can be for whatever reason. Maybe it was a layoff, maybe you had a child, maybe there was illness in your family, maybe you wanted to travel for a year, whatever it is. And we know a lot of women ended up taking more time than they wanted during COVID, but Women Back to Work is here to help in any way we can. And Power Hour is every Tuesday at 12 noon Pacific time. And we like to use this weekly opportunity to share helpful hints, great learning lessons, and kind of everything in between for those who are looking to return to their career. Today we have an amazing special guest, Aimee Barrie. Aimee is just a marketing wizard and guru, and so very knowledgeable, and she's this amazing woman. And just kind of getting to know her, I know Sonu knows her from the past, but getting to know her as we were prepping, every time I talk with her, I'm thinking like, we are so honored to have you here and sharing your knowledge. One of the things for those of you who have been on the call since maybe the beginning of the year is, you know, and we're in a tough market right now. A lot of people are looking for work. As a returner, as someone just looking for work, how do I make myself stand out? What can I do so that when recruiters are going through LinkedIn or recruiters are going through resumes, what can I do to make myself stand out? And we've had some speakers this year talk about highlighting their skills or helpful hints in the interview process, working with LinkedIn. But today, you all are going to get a fabulous step-by-step process of how you can self-promote yourself, self-market yourself, self-brand yourself from really someone who is a true expert. So Aimee is a longtime friend of Women Back to Work. I know she's a friend of many of you on the call, and if that's why you're here today, even better. But without further ado, Aimee, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself and just a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of dive into what we're going to be talking about today?
Sure. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Arlene. It's been such a pleasure working with Aimee again and partnering with the great skills that's brought to, gosh, everybody on this call and beyond. Like many people, I've worn a lot of professional hats over the years, and I started out in retail as a senior and regional manager, then moved into being a college teacher for advanced business and marketing management. I built educational curriculum, and I've worked in sales. 4 years ago, thanks to somebody on the call, Olivia Gonzalez, I got into the exciting world of tech, and I fell in love with the opportunities this new digital age provides. Career growth and personal development is really one of the joys of being in this current day and age as an employee. Gone are the days where our parents and our grandparents said that we needed to work one job straight out of school until retirement. In fact, the opposite has occurred, with so many career coaches often sharing that cliche of the best way to get a raise is to find a new job. So my passion is technology. As technology grows at a rapid pace, we as employees now have the opportunity for an upward trajectory to also evolve. As women, or as people who identify as women, we're also in a unique position now of strength more than ever to become aware of these opportunities, which have historically been shielded from us. I think back to my school days, and any education surrounding STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, math, was never really emphasized as an option for me. And it wasn't until my late 30s that I even thought a career in this field could be possible. It was Albert Einstein who once famously said, "I have no special skills, I'm only passionately curious." And during the lockdown of 2020, I embraced that curiosity of the unknown, and I enrolled into MIT in their open library learning. There are so many top and Ivy League schools which have open learning courses. The one that I took was an introduction to machine learning. It's commonly called data science. And I was armed with Nothing more than my curiosity and my determination for success. And I finished the course and felt like there was this whole new world of technology open for me to explore. I felt like Alice falling into this digital wonderland. And I learned the joy of working in technology isn't necessarily mastering a skill set, but rather gaining the understanding that innovation occurs every single day. In so many other industries, there's a need for a certain tenure of experience. But in tech, we're able to quickly and easily prove our capabilities as new technologies emerge. I've also had some incredible mentors and some guides who recognized my abilities and encouraged me to hone in on certain transferable skills, marketing being one of them.
Thank you. One of the things that with all of the things that you've done, and I'm not sure you just said it, you're a ghostwriter for like high-tech executives. I think that's so cool. But we're here today to talk about self-branding, and just for, taking it from the very beginning, maybe bonehead question, can you tell us what self-branding is for anyone who might not know?
Yeah, that's a great question. So essentially it's marketing. We live in a world of branding. Everything around us is targeting and influencing how we want to live our lives. We buy the latest tech gadgets to keep us connected to each other. When we're sick, we crave certain foods that remind us of comfort. If we want to go out for a night on the town, we dress up in a style which reflects our personalities. We attend events and watch entertainment that we've been told may be interesting to us. So ultimately, we need to think of marketing not as the need to buy something, but rather as the need to feel something. When we think of brand loyalty, we remember how a company made us feel. The world revolves around marketing, and it's exciting for us to use that to our advantage. I think it was Maya Angelou who once said, people will forget what you've said and what you've done, but people will never forget how you made them feel. There's that old adage, it's not personal, it's just business. This could not be further from the truth. We do business with people that we like. We support companies whose values seem to resonate with our own, and we amplify causes which have touched our hearts in some way. So when we think of ourselves as a candidate, we need to think of our brand and how we're selling ourselves. There are so many people in the world who are better than me. I've worked for them, I've learned from them, and ultimately I'm in friendly competition with them when it comes to career opportunities. Self-branding is the way of controlling that narrative by creating consistency with our communication, both verbal and non, and creating warmth beyond just a resume. Self-branding is our opportunity to share the feeling of what it's like to work with us.
I love that. So who needs to self-brand?
Oh gosh, everyone. Whether you're looking for a new job or you're seasoned in your role and looking to strengthen your employee footprint, it's important to consistently reflect on the image that you're creating and ensure that your actions match the story that your brand is telling. That being said, it's also important to evolve your brand every couple of years. I use McDonald's as an example. In the 90s, their slogan was, "Have you had your break today?" And then in the early 2000s, it evolved to, "I'm loving it." So we go back to that feeling. What do these two different slogans tell us? So in the 90s, McDonald's told us to reward ourselves with a McBreak. But then it evolved to saying that we don't need to wait. We can just love it any time of the day. So it's that positive, that intuitive. It's based on feeling. And that same goes with ourselves. At some point into our lives, we say, I can do more, I can do it all. And then we might evolve to saying, I'm the expert in this area and I'm growing to lead. And depending on what's important in our lives, we may even want to give that feeling of, I'm here to empower others to grow as I comfortably settle into the consistency of my life. So it's important to understand how we want others to feel about us and convey that message with consistency.
Awesome. Thank you. So if someone's on the job market looking to find a job, get back into the job market, what are some of the advantages of self-promotion? And then also, what might be some of the mistakes or the downfalls in it, or the mistakes people make when they're doing their self-branding?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think I want to kind of take your question, kind of go back a little bit and break down what the steps are to self-branding. Because when we understand how to do it, at that point in time, we can understand kind of the pitfalls to avoid. So I'll put it in the chat here. but I wrote a how-to on this, but I want to take the opportunity to kind of walk through this together as a team, as a group here. So what we want to do is, first off, think about ourselves and start with our doing basic research on ourselves. So the first step to everything is understanding your digital footprint. Google yourself, see what narrative is already being told about you. Chances are you've grown since your initial introduction to the internet. So the first thing you want to do is clean up and delete anything which no longer serves you. There's been countless case studies where somebody's doing really well in their career all of a sudden to be shot down because a poor tasted joke that they made in the 80s or the 90s or whenever, sort of thing, right? So it's cleaning up, making sure that everything that you have online represents who you are and your values today. And that kind of goes into step 2, which is developing your USP. Now, USP, we live in a world of acronyms. In marketing, USP stands for unique selling proposition. Essentially, what you're doing is building a foundation of who you are and what you want to represent your external market. So start with your own vision, start with your own values, your mission statement, your goals, right? So when it comes to values, for example, this is going to be your North Star. It's something that's never going to change. It's something that no matter what industry you do, no matter what situation you're in, you're going to hold true to those values. So for example, I've got 4, mine are integrity, respect, empathy, and fun. No matter what I do, I want to make sure that I'm being transparent. I want to respect not only others, but also myself. And I want to make sure that I'm understanding that people's viewpoints come from their own unique experiences. And I don't share those experiences. So it's listening with that understanding, empathy, and respect. But also fun has got to be part of it. My goodness, life is too short not to enjoy ourselves. So in everything we want to do, we want to inject a little bit of joy. So knowing that those are my 4 core values, the next thing you want to do is start thinking about your career. What do you want to do? Quite often, we're good at what we enjoy. So I've got my little lists. I always have my little to-do list and my notepads next to me. So be tactile with it. Make a loves and a dislike list. Write down the things that you love to do, the things that fuel your passion, that fuel your joy. Because oftentimes, as mentioned before, when we follow our bliss, then we follow what we're good at. And on the other side of the spectrum as well is that things that we don't like are usually things that we're not that good at. So we know we're creating a list of things to follow our passionate path with, and pitfalls to naturally avoid as well. So once you've got that list, then we can start doing research again and figuring out, okay, where can I take my passion and hone it into a potential career? But to do that, again, you need to figure out your mission and your vision. Now, oftentimes the mission and the vision, that's something that can be confused as well. People think it's interchangeable, but really your vision is what you want to build, and your mission is how you're going to achieve that goal. So for example, my personal vision is to contribute to my global communities by providing clarity, elevating discussion, and accelerating progress. My mission, so how I'm going to achieve that vision, is by developing long-term trust and relationships and being laser focused, ensuring all stakeholders' goals are achieved. It's if I can help others, they'll naturally help me in return, whether it's through my own learning, my own experiences, or advocacy from each other as well. So once you've got that platform, that USP, that foundation of who you are, at that point in time, you can start understanding your target audience. So again, you're going to go back to that market research. You figured out what your questions are. You figured out what your...
Oh,
hi. We're starting them young. I love it. One of my other values is disruption as well. So anytime children come on the call or we see pets kind of running around, then that just adds to the joy of our day. So no embarrassment. I'm glad you've joined. Thank you for being here. So what we're talking about is our market research and understanding our target audience. So we've laid that foundation of who we are as an individual, and now we're going to build off it in a way that is building towards the people we want to engage with. So think about who's already in your network. LinkedIn is a great way to do that. Think about I mentioned my mentors. I mentioned the people that have helped hone my skill sets. Touch base with them, but touch base with them with purpose. Don't just have a conversation saying, I'm lost, I don't know where to start, but create this template of sorts so that it can guide what you want to achieve from that conversation. So some of the questions I suggest is talking about what are the last 3 articles that you read? What are any lectures or events or demos that you've attended recently? And what was interesting about those? Who do you admire in the industry? If you figure out who they follow, you can follow those leaders as well. Find out where they go to learn, and you can follow in those footsteps as well. Ultimately, you want to create this database of leads, of potential knowledge that you can start doing that self-exploring down so that you can further your own career growth. And then once you've done that, then you can start building that external model based on not just your values, but based on what they want to see, how they want to engage with you. It's that used car salesman feeling. You can always tell when somebody's trying to push something down your throat. But when somebody comes to you with this understanding of, I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow, and I'm here to see you as that expert, then people are going to be much more open to engaging with you and really helping you. So at that point in time, you can update your image. You can start with your LinkedIn. And I know that you and I will talk about that in a little bit, but it's making sure that you're representing who you are and who you want to speak to in a way that speaks comfortably and consistently. And that consistency is key. So when you start branding yourself, when you start marketing yourself, you want to do so in a way that is on a regular cadence. You want people to be able to expect things from you. You want people to notice when you're not sitting at that same virtual table, and you want people to invite you in as that subject matter expert, that SME, to have that shared experiences. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, that foundational growth. And like I say, I've linked that in the chat box, and it'll be shared as well after this call.
Thank you. If I can ask a follow-up question to what you just said, for some of our returners, they've shared just in previous calls that, if you have worked in X amount of years, right, and you've really just been out of it, you've been doing something else, you said to touch base with your network or people mentors, former bosses, colleagues, whatever. And I love that, with a purpose. If really I don't want to say their purpose is to network and to see who's got openings and stuff like that, but sometimes when you get to a point in your job search, that's what you're doing. What other kind of things can they, like if you're a software engineer and you're looking for work, maybe the last article you read might not be able to be a question that they can ask. So how else can they find a purpose for the reach out?
Yeah,
if they've been out of the market for a while.
Yeah. So a couple of things come to mind. So you mentioned being out of the market. So again, I really want to emphasize those transferable skills too, because even though you've been out of the market for a while, your skills are still yours. They're still in your arsenal, your toolbox, your ability to tap into and grow that company's needs. But the second thing too is when we talk about meeting with purpose, we're really talking about ROI, that return of investment. If I'm sitting down with somebody, what am I going to get out of it? And ultimately, you're not going to have a job out of every conversation. That's just not realistic. But what you want to get out of it is knowledge. You want to get some sort of path that you can go down, or to explore new areas of understanding in order to further your transferable skills, or in order to grow your skills. So I mentioned some of them, like you say, it's not just the last article that you've read, but also, what does success currently look like in your career? What industry trends are you interested in, and why? What makes you feel most inspired in your job? By understanding people who are working in the industry that you want to get into, by tapping into their current environments and what makes them successful, you as a returner can tap into that yourself as well. You can start taking their passion, their experience, their environmental challenges, and finding creative solutions that you can bring to the interview process. So it's figuring out communication.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, how can how do they stand out from the crowd with, and you know, I'm sorry, I should have said this at the very beginning. We can, I already see some great questions in the chat. If you all can put your questions in the chat, Aimee has very graciously, Aimee will answer the questions at the end. We want to kind of get through these step-by-steps of the self-branding. So can you share with us, like, what are some of the mistakes people might make in their self-branding efforts?
Yeah, so self-branding really isn't hard, but like all new things, getting started can be intimidating. So it's moving past that fear. It's moving past that mental block that we put on ourselves. It's so easy to say, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know where to get started. But when we push past that fear and we take that first step towards research and understanding, we can move forward with consistency and growth. So the biggest mistake that I see when it comes to self-branding is people give up, or people don't have that consistency or that cadence of continual, we call it drip campaigns. So whether you're having these consistent conversations with people, whether you're creating LinkedIn articles, whether you're participating in events like this, you want to make sure that you're being consistent and steadfast with your commitment to believe in yourself and believe in the brand that you're creating. If you don't believe in your own brand, nobody else will either.
That, you know, that, I mean, that is something that we've talked about a lot. And I think that that's one of the hardest things when you're in the middle of a job search, and especially in a market like this, where it's an extra tough job market, that consistency of whether you choose to do it every single day or every other day, but, you know, waking up in the morning and just kind of getting it done, that's tough. It can be a challenge.
Well, often I'm asked as well, like, what do employers look for when it comes to self-branding? And the honest answer is confidence. Everyone is an expert on something. It's leaning into those transferable skills, focusing on the areas that you're passionate about, and sharing your knowledge openly. And that's the key, is sharing it on LinkedIn, sharing it on different forums, making sure that you're standing out as that SME that you truly are, that subject matter expert. When you brand yourself, you're creating both external and also self-awareness of the skills and strengths that you hold. When you exude this air of confidence, others are going to be confident about you too, and will most likely advocate for you and ultimately hire you.
Mm-hmm. So one of the questions that's popping up in the chat right now is, because they've been out for so long and really haven't been, when we're working, it's easy to hop on LinkedIn and stay connected with people or like something that they've done. But if we haven't been doing that, it's hard to get someone to have a conversation with us, to ask them, like, what is it that you love about your job? What are you passionate about? Or what package software you're working on, or, you know, whatever it is. So how can they get to that spot, besides like the consistency of asking? But do you have any helpful hints on that?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're asking about how to strengthen our networks, especially as somebody who's been out of work for so long. I would imagine that there is this, oh gosh, I want to say maybe fear of rejection. If I reach out to somebody, will they remember me? Did I make that much of an impact in their life? Will they want to waste their time on trying to guide me when they haven't talked to me in 10, 15, 20 years, however long that returnship has been for? So when you talk about strengthening your network, like I say, the first start is strengthening who you are in your position. So follow those guidelines that I laid out. Make sure that you're sharing who you are first. And then when you start reaching out to people, at that point in time, you're going to say, oh gosh, just like you and I did as well. Hello, Arlene. So great to connect with you again. I'm not sure if you remember, we chatted about a year ago when I was helping with a career fair. Would love to pick your brain about something. Do you have time on Tuesday at noon? So set a couple of options in that reach out, in that email that you're doing. Again, you're showing your core values. You're showing your fun, your empathy, your connection to that person. I guarantee you, people feel good when they help each other out. Everybody wants to feel like they're an expert in something. So when you do that reach out on LinkedIn or wherever, and you say, hi, I just want to make sure that I'm connecting and asking questions, you're showing your respect to that person of that subject matter expert. So start off with that, reminding them how you connected, where that connection came from. Ask them for a brief 30-minute touch point, and then lay out almost like an agenda. I would love to talk about your current role, what you're doing. I know you're the expert in this area, and I'd love to be able to take a couple minutes to run some ideas by you for my own career growth. Guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, somebody will take that time. I've had VPs that I've reached out with. I've had corporate business leaders who created their own companies agree to having 30-minute chats with me. Again, it's that fear of rejection that sometimes holds us back. But I'm Canadian, so I have to quote the great Canadian Wayne Gretzky, which is you miss 99% of the shots that you don't take, right? So when you make that chance, when you take that risk, what you're doing is creating a strength of your brand as well by saying, I'm not afraid to reach out and learn. I'm not afraid to ask for help. And what I'm doing is amplifying others in order to use those applications as a step up in my career.
Awesome. Thank you. I know you're going to share some information about resources for self-branding. And for everyone on the call, we're going to have a follow-up email to this, because there is a lot of information that Aimee wants to share with everybody. What do you think, Aimee, what do employers look for if someone is doing, let's say, a self-branding campaign? What are employers looking for? And let's just say, like, someone's a technical person, they're a software engineer, they're a developer, they're a technical program manager. What would they be looking for, like, with that skill set?
Yeah, so if you have your own GitHub, if you have your own repository of data that shows your success, then you want to amplify that as well, because that's again part of your marketing. So maybe this is a good time to go over that, how to optimize your LinkedIn, if you like.
Absolutely, that'd be amazing. Thank you.
Right. Okay, if you feel comfortable, I'm going to screen share. So bear with me. Alrighty, the most commonly asked question, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll try putting it in slideshow mode here. So just the generic, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. So you want to be able to think of your LinkedIn as an interactive resume. So in today's competitive market, it is vital to find creative and memorable ways to stand out. So by understanding how to present yourself in this digital world, you can easily amplify your skills, abilities, values, ensuring your target audience knows who you are and what you stand for. Again, don't worry, no need to take screenshots or really take notes. I want everybody to feel engaged with this presentation, and afterwards we'll share this deck as well. So the first thing you want to do is update your featured images, add hashtags. So you see them here as well, right? So hashtags allow you to amplify your skills and your abilities throughout a larger area, exposing your expertise, and ensure that your introduction is representative of the career that you're looking to grow into. You can easily do this. So you'll see this little pencil sign. Once you click on that pencil sign, you can edit your intro. So the easiest thing that you could do is, my name is Aimee. I know I don't make that easy for everybody. If you're French, it's like mon ami. If you're Spanish, it's like amiga, however you say it. I'm your friend in Canada. But to make it easy for people who are looking at me online, I added that audio video recording where I show the pronunciation of my name. I've also seen sales leaders talk about, use this audio recording, not just to show the pronunciation of their name, but to say, my name is Joe and I'm an expert in this and this and this, right? It's creatively utilizing the tools that are available for free at your fingertips. When you scroll down to answer your question earlier as well, Arlene, you can also add a website, so your GitHub, your WordPress, whatever it is that you currently have, to showcase that repository of data that you've already created, that information that you've already been able to leverage from either your past or that you're currently working on as well. Continuing through that about section, think of that as like a mini cover letter. So there's two types of skills in the world. There's interpersonal and there's functional. Functional skills are easy to prove. my words per minute, my ability to use Jira, my able to speak in English, French, Arabic, Russian, things that if somebody says, I question that, you can prove it within a matter of seconds. Those are your functional skills. The other are your interpersonal skills. Those are a little bit harder to quantify. Those are things like, I'm a hard worker, I'm a team player, I'm a strong communicator. Those are things that take time to prove. So that's what you want to put in your about section, is your interpersonal skills. So it's a chance for you to talk about, I confidently navigate the emerging worlds of security, observability, IT, marketing, human resources, and talent acquisition. This is what I do. This is the worlds that I live in. Can I prove it in a matter of seconds? No. But what I can do is set up the expectation that this is what I want to do. This is the path that I want to go on. And these are the areas that I can help a business grow. Now, the other thing that I added was the Gandhi quote, because I strongly believe that I'm not here to further my agenda. My agenda will be, my success will be amplified when I help the success of others. So when I get hired by a company, my job is to make my manager look really good, because then they'll make me look good naturally as well. So it's understanding who your customer is, both internally or externally, and making sure that you're making their lives easier. So when it comes to that about section, you don't want it to be too wordy. I've seen people do paragraphs. Realistically, nobody's going to read a paragraph. Make it concise, make it easy to understand, and make it easily consumable for an external audience. So continuing down to experience, we talked about the two different skill sets, that interpersonal and the functional. Your experience is going to lean heavily on your functional. This is the proof. This is the fundamental facts of your success. Now, again, you're a returner. You haven't worked for, let's say, 20 years. Think about the success that you've had in the past. Look back on, oh gosh, if you have a previous job description of a role that you've done, put that in there, because what you're going to want to do is be able to prove very quickly in an interview the impact that you can make and those transferable skills that really don't age. You can also, again, to your earlier point as well, Arlene, you can add any links to this experience. You can showcase the blogs, articles, videos, anything that you've done as that proof. Again, you're always going to want to think of your experience as that proof. Excuse me. So, excuse me. The other thing that you can do is, again, highlight your skills or demonstrate your skills. Any skills can show a potential employer what you're capable of. Don't shy away from that. Sorry, I'm going to see if I can put myself on mute for a second, just because I'm coughing.
Happens to me all the time.
Enjoy this brief commercial break. But taking that skills assessment, showcasing those functional skills, adding those skills to where you've experienced them in the past. And even if you've, like I say, been on that break for the last 20 or so years, and I'm being dramatic, but I know that that's a real case for a lot of people. I talked about attending MIT. I did that through their open learning library. You can do that as well. Go to your different Ivy League schools. A lot of them have these free open libraries of online learning resources that you can take. Add that as your skill. Add that as something that you've done to keep yourself relevant, to learn and to adapt your understanding of how the world and the workforce has changed over the last 20 or so years. Continuing through as well is ask for recommendations. When we talked about leveraging our network and reaching out to people who may have known us in the past, it's not just asking them for help, but it's asking them for the amplification of the abilities that you have. This is where that interactive resume really comes into play. Endorsements are given by colleagues and people that you've worked with. So it's your professional proof. And realistically, with over 750 million members on LinkedIn, there's a good chance somebody who's hiring is connected to somebody already in your network. So it's connecting those dots and making sure that you're seen as relevant, even though you haven't worked in however many years. Continuing through, this is key, and I really want to amplify this. I really want to amplify this. Protect yourself, protect your brand. Anything that you like, anything that you comment on, anything that you engage with, that's going to be amplified within your network, and it's going to show up on your profile. So knowing that a broad network of people can view your online actions before engaging with a potentially controversial post. Ask yourself, could a potential employer take offense with this? I spent some time in etiquette school as a child, growing up in England. And one of the things that we learned to stay away from is anything relating to sex, race, religion, or political affiliation. So when it comes to your brand, it is great to be an active ally. You want to make sure that you are amplifying each other and lifting each other up. But I think it was, again, Gandhi who once said, I will never attend a demonstration because they're always end in anger. Instead, you want to focus on peace. You want to focus on light. You want to focus on positivity. So when you're thinking of your actions on LinkedIn, think of ways that you can be strategic about how you're amplifying it. Celebrate posts that showcase your skills, that showcase your connections. Like posts or engage with posts or comment on posts that show that your understanding of the current economic environment or the current industry challenges. Don't use LinkedIn, please, as a social media platform. It is a tool for you to find a job. That's really key. And then that's kind of it for this brief little walkthrough of social media. But ultimately, what you want to do again is use your LinkedIn as a way to continue the conversation of your brand by helping amplify the post which makes most sense to you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Do you mind if we go to a couple of questions right now?
Please, yeah, this is great.
Valerie, I don't know if you've typed a question, but do you want to ask your question to Aimee?
Hi, Aimee. Thank you so much for all your guidelines. They're awesome. I put a question in the chat. Some of it you have touched already. So in order to self-market or do some self-marketing or self-branding activities, I feel like we need to come from a strong angle, right? You need to have high confidence, you need to have your proposition ready. Basically, the first points that you laid out. But in order to get there, I feel like a lot of us are coming from an angle where our self-esteem and confidence is very low and we're a little insecure, we're maybe a little bit lost, what we actually want to do, what is our story. So in order to get to this point where you actually can start self-branding, what would you recommend doing? I mean, you laid it all out, but I feel like there's one point even before where we have to self-motivate ourselves, have to, find the inner strengths and come up with a plan that you're actually ready to get out there and promote yourself. Maybe you can share a little bit your thoughts.
Yeah, that's a great question, Valerie. And thank you for, thank you for coming off mute and putting your camera on and letting me see your face. It's great to connect with you. I understand that, to your point about confidence, even asking a question like that takes a lot of confidence. So please take a moment and pat yourself on the back for doing that, because that's step one of networking. But to answer your question, you're right. People are motivated by several different things. When 2020 hit, I was a contract worker and I was working for an organization that was letting go of a lot of contracts at a time of global and economic uncertainty. So I went to MIT and I did that data science course, not just because I was curious about it, but I was scared. I was motivated to succeed through fear. Now, we know that's not healthy. We know that's not long-term durable, but it's the truth. And I know that it's, when we're looking at getting back to work, especially after a long hiatus, that fear is real, that fear is palpable. So my mantra at the time was, failure is not an option. What do I need to do to move past that and make sure that I am positioning myself to be successful? And so I took that course at MIT and I cried through most of it. There's that meme that you see on the internet being like, name a book that made you cry. And I'm like, it's Pythagoras. it's different math for vertical Python theory that made me cry the most. But it's understanding that you will be successful long term, because ultimately you've got at least however many years, let's say 30, 40 years left in our life experience. Realistically, we are going to get another job in the next 30, 40 years. Like, that's just realistically know that you will be working again. But it's taking that courage to move past that fear. It's arming yourself with the tools that you need so that you can say, I've got a foundation that adds value. So when we think about that USP, that unique sales proposition, that's what we're building. So we're doing that pros and cons list. Remember that likes and dislike list. We're saying, these are the skills that I have. And anytime you question yourself, anytime you feel that little doubt start to creep in your mind saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, the first thing that I need to do is acknowledge that is not a productive use of my time. That energy that I put into negativity will not serve me. So instead, I look at that list and say, I am really good at talking to people. I'm really good at networking. I'm really good at writing. Whatever you're really good at, lean in on. The second thing that I do as well, and this might be a little bit hippy dippy, if you wish to say, but every morning I wake up and I think of 5 specific things that I'm grateful for. And they've got to be specific. They can't be, I'm grateful for my health, my family, my friend, because those are generic things that we kind of fall back on. For me, it's, I'm grateful that I have this big, comfortable bed that I get to wake up in. I'm grateful for this fine cup of coffee that's brewing right now in my kitchen. I'm grateful for the sunrise. I'm a firm believer that happiness begins with gratitude. And so when we come from a place where we are being mindful, where we're being purposeful with our thoughts and understanding what serves us, at that point in time, we can start getting down to the business of success. Hope that helps a little bit.
I thought that was awesome, Aimee, and I'll tell you that, and I am a returner myself. Valerie, you're dead on. That's the hardest thing, right? When you lose your mojo. You lose your confidence, no matter what your title was before, no matter what, we lose our mojo. And that's like the hardest thing. But Aimee, I love these things that you shared. And it's like, we cannot allow ourselves to get into that negative space. It's fun. Go back to that list of, this is what I'm good at. This is what I love to do, and emphasize and concentrate on that. So that was pretty brilliant. Thank you very much. Sangeetha, what is your question?
Oh, hi, everyone. I just have one comment and a question. Just to kind of follow up on the last discussion we had, I actually shared my resume with the ex-colleague of mine who is a recruiter, and I, you won't believe how insightful that was, and really helpful, like to reach out to your network and ask for help, because he looked at my resume and told me the things that I didn't see. I thought my resume is perfect. I had written all the details, but he looked at it from his view and told me, like, these are the things I don't see, these are the things that you should add value. And that was very helpful. I think some of you probably you should try that. And the second thing which I did was journaling my journey. Like, every day I wake up and I write my emotions, whatever I feel like, I'm doing job search or whatever, it's not helping. I just journal it, and it's not going to get me a job, but I felt that, at least it's going to help me, write an article someday, which I can publish, which was one of my, thing in my to-do list. My question was with regard to certification. One of the things that he mentioned was they really don't look at certifications from Coursera and such, education sites like that. And you mentioned that you have taken certifications or courses from Ivy League schools, right? I just want to, make sure that whatever time and money I'm investing on those add value. So could you please talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's another great question. So the first thing I want to do is really congratulate you on reaching out to your network and being open to the feedback that recruiter friend gave to you. That is key, that open-mindedness, that vulnerability to ask for help and to say, I think this is perfect, and realize, oh my gosh, I am far from perfect, right? So well done you for being able to take that first step, for listening and being open. The other thing that based on that as well is, I hope that you found some way to thank this person, whether it was to send them a personalized note. There is power in snail mail. I think back to, again, in the early 90s, everybody was receiving letters in the post, and we got really excited when we got an email. Well, now it's flipped. Now we get our inbox flooded, and the only letters that I'm receiving is from this guy named Bill who always wants my money. But what we want to do is, after somebody's helped us, send a letter in the mail, send a card. There is power in a simple, I think it's 60 cents to send something in the post. By sending a handwritten thank you card, they're going to feel like you took that extra time and effort and energy, and they're going to keep it. They're going to put it on their desk. They're going to put it next to their awards, and they're going to remember how you made them feel. And they're going to be more likely to, again, want to help you, reach out, follow up. So it's making sure that you're taking those extra steps to really thank and solidify that strength of network that we've got around us as well. Now, that being said, to answer your question, yes and no. So diplomas, certifications, ultimately, they are beautiful pieces of paper that we put in very expensive frames that don't necessarily hold as much value as they did, say, 20, 30 years ago. But what does hold value is skill sets. It's learning. It's taking information, especially newer information that you may not have been able to interact with when you were in that work industry. And being able to showcase that you are still relevant, you are still understanding of the changes and the evolution of the industry, and that you've done so by taking these skills, by learning these new industry technology or whatever industry that you're looking in. So it's not necessarily the piece of paper. And like I say, a lot of the schooling that I did has been free. I came from an environment growing up where we didn't have the money to spend on fancy schools. So by leveraging open libraries, you're not necessarily getting that beautiful piece of paper, but what you're getting is tangible skill sets that you can use towards your next job. Does that make sense? Thank you for asking that question.
Aimee, I want to ask a follow-up on that. So let's say, even for you, when you took the course with MIT, right? Did you do a post after you completed it? Do you suggest that as these returners finish, whether it's a certification or just, you know, a class, whatever it is, that they do a post, hey, everyone, whatever. What do you suggest they do?
Yeah, so it's not just afterwards, but it's documenting the entire journey. So celebrate on LinkedIn. I just enrolled in this course. I'm so excited to learn these top 3 skills, right? Showcasing again that you're taking your time, that you're putting your effort and energy into something bigger than yourself that can contribute to an organization. Then perhaps weekly or every 2 weeks, say, I've just learned this, or look at this screenshot that I took from the course where I can highlight this skill that I'm starting to develop or strengthen inside of me. And then you're absolutely right. After the course is completed, that's when you're going to do your retrospection and say, what a phenomenal course. I'm so glad I signed up for it. I now have these top 3 skill sets. Again, with every posting, be concise, celebrate your achievement, list your top 3 learnings from that. And then your last part is, this is what I'm going to do with this, or this is what I'm excited about taking these skills and putting them into action. So you're doing the top 3 posts. So the first is the introduction. This is why I took this course. The second is you're listing the top 3 things that you learned. And then the final ending, or that closer of the post that you're doing on LinkedIn, you're going to say, this is what I'm excited to take the skills for and amplify them in this new industry that I'm starting to apply to.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Thank you. That's super helpful. Sonu, you have your hand up?
I do, and I have a question. This is great information, and I wish I attended something like this when I was entering my career, entering the workforce. And so thanks, Aimee, for sharing that guidance. I'm curious, and this is the reason I asked this question is because I personally have a 23-year-old daughter who's just recently entered the workforce, and I'm pretty sure there's lots of moms here who are in that sort of situation. And we also provide a lot of career guidance to early in career talent, right? They've just graduated, they're entering the work field, and they think very differently, right? I mean, they're the Gen Z and the Gen X and millennials, and they don't have that experience under the belt. How would you recommend they build their brand? And maybe, I can provide that guidance to them when I'm speaking to them. And would everything you said in the last, 50 minutes, does all of that apply to them? Or is there something very specific they should be doing or be thinking slightly differently?
Those are great questions. Thanks, Sonia. I'm not surprised. You always bring brilliance to every conversation that you provide. But you're right. Early in career is a very different network. They're building their network. And a lot of the time, they don't even have LinkedIn at that point as well. So it's setting the foundation to meet the expectation of an industry that's well established. So an early in career person, they need to understand the industry that they want to go into, and again, market themselves in where that industry plays. So again, I use LinkedIn as an obvious choice, but setting up that LinkedIn, a lot of the things that we talked about in this last 50 minutes can be used towards them. But the thing that an early in career talent might need more support with is building out that experience, because their experience is school and not really anything that they've done past that. So it's thinking about what volunteer experience would they have. Have they coached a basketball team? Have they spent some time doing tutoring? Have they spent some time helping the community or doing engagements around their neighborhood? So it's leveraging, again, those transferable skills in a way which makes sense. So if somebody has been managing a high school team, for example, or been part of an assistant coach of a high school team, then they're talking about their project management solution. They're talking about their time management solutions. They're talking about the motivation that they've had to give their coaches, the time that they've spent building strategies around it. If we think about the nitty-gritty of the day that we do, a lot of the time people fall short in understanding the skills that can be leveraged out of those things. So it's really sitting down and saying, what have I done? What did it take for me to be successful with what I've done in volunteering and whatever? And then how can that success be translated into that working environment?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Me, I think that what you just said is also amazingly relevant for returners, right?
Yeah.
Because if you took a break from your working career to whatever it is, raise your kids, travel, things that you were doing, whether it was, coaching your child's basketball team or running the PTA, it's so everyone echoing just what Aimee just said, like, what were the skills? And we need to, those are what you want to be highlighting and showing your relevant skills and the skills that you've been doing kind of all along.
And going back to what Valerie was saying earlier in her question as well, is don't sell yourself short. Look at what you do on a day-to-day basis, because I guarantee you it takes talent to do what you do. And so many times, and especially I think as women or as people who identify as women, we tend to sell ourselves short. We tend to put others' needs above our own. But really, it's the things that we do to put others' needs above our own has talent in that self. So it's looking at what you do and stripping apart the emotion and looking at it from a factual perspective. That's where you're going to find skill sets that are undercover and are transferable into, almost every industry.
So I think we might have time for one more question. Sarithi, what is your question for Aimee?
No pressure.
Hey, hi.
There you are.
Hi, Aimee. Yeah, hi, everyone. So thanks, Aimee, for this wonderful insight about LinkedIn. And I think I should, just go on and add few things over the LinkedIn things. But the self-branding thing, I'm a UX UI designer, and I have done self-branding in my portfolio and resume. Like, should I add something, the self-branding statement in my resume, or should it just be the experience, like the professional experience I have? Or should I add like what I had, like 5 years of gap? Should I add something in that, like 2019 to 2022 or something? Should I add something over there in my resume for that particular year gap? Like, I just wanted to know something on that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. So a couple of things as well. So the first thing that we want to do is, on our LinkedIn and on our resumes, we've got that about section. So when we looked at the functional versus the interpersonal skills, that interpersonal skills are what you're going to put under your about section. Now on your resume, to show that gap, again, as we talked about with Arlene and with Sanu, we're thinking about the skills that we had or that we utilized during that gap and how they're able to leverage into the working environment as well. So feel free on your resume to say, oh gosh, from 2010 to present, currently on a gap, this is what I've done. So whether you're helping your community, whether you're, as you said, Arlene, running your PTA, you're coaching your child's school, your whatever it might be, put that down and then list what you've done to be success within those volunteering roles. Arlene used travel as an example. Travel is spectacular. When I wasn't working, I could never afford to travel other than to maybe the local petrol station down the street. But if you are traveling, then again, you're experiencing new cultures, you're experiencing a different understanding of the world around you, and you're respecting the journeys that others have gone on that you haven't necessarily, or that I haven't had the necessarily privilege to understand. So it's thinking about what you've done in that break and using that time to point form. You're not writing paragraphs because nobody's going to read them. When people look at resumes, they skim. So point form, what skills have you done? What attributes have you embraced during that gap time, that leave, and then move on to the other things you've done in the past as well. But in that about section, your LinkedIn, leverage that. And especially you as a UX designer, if you've got a GitHub, if you've got an online portfolio, make sure that's embedded in your LinkedIn. Make sure that that is embedded as a link in your digital resume as well, so that you're providing that proof of your abilities. You're not just saying I'm a great UX designer, but you're saying here are some tangible examples of the success that I've created, so that people can peruse that and really see your skills in action.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would love to take a group shot. So but I do have a question. So while all of you are turning on your cameras, and we would love for you to do that so we can take a picture and let Aimee share this with her network, I do have a question about pictures on LinkedIn. So, I'll often, because we try to share our LinkedIn profiles in the chat on a lot of power hours. And when I link in with many returners, they don't have a picture. So, Aimee, what is your expert comment on pictures on LinkedIn? Please.
Oh, and you're talking about like that profile picture that people have, yes?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Perfect. So a couple of things come to mind. So the first, you'll see that I talk with my hands a lot. That's not just because I'm European, but it's also a way to subconsciously let the person know that you're safe. This kind of goes back to the caveman days, where if you didn't see somebody's hands, they thought that you could be holding a weapon or you could be doing something threatening. So literally open your body language up. You want to make sure that you're showcasing your warmth. Quite often you'll find with my LinkedIn profile, I'm looking away a little bit because you want to show that vulnerability as well. So you're showcasing your hands, not in a YMCA way, right? Like you don't want to be silly about it, but even something simple as like leaning your hand on your shoulder or finding out which side you feel most comfortable with. But it's connecting with the camera as if you're talking with a friend. you're connecting with the camera as if it's somebody that you love that's holding the lens. Because the way you look with love versus the way you look as a scared picture of somebody taking for a mugshot is going to be very different. So connect positively, connect with passion, and show your joy.
I love that. Thank you. That's good, because I think people need that guidance. I'm like, who are we going to ask? So thank you. So Sonu, can you, will you take a picture?
I've just got to say, Valerie, you look perfect. That could be your picture right now. Just that's just flawless. So well done. Oh, Hope's doing it too, right? But it's
Let's
just
all do
making
it.
I was trying to find the right position of my hand.
Wonderful. So everyone give a smile. You want to do a countdown, Sonu? 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Let me get my camera ready.
Yeah.
Shraddha, will you take a picture also?
I
So
am
we have a-
taking pictures.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Smile, everyone. Say cheese. All right.
Did you get it?
And
Thank you.
just
Yes,
I
we got
know,
it.
on your computer, if you do, I think Command Shift 4. So hold down
Yes.
Command, hold down Shift, and then press the 4 button. Your mouse will turn into a little X cursor. And at that point in time, you can take a screenshot. So that way you've got a digital image that you've saved to your desktop that you can share on LinkedIn. You can share something again. If we're going to do an example, you'd say, just had a great power hour with a cryo and with the Women Back to Work. Thanks so much, Arlene and Sonu, for putting this presentation on. Look at the fun we all had. So again, you're keeping it short, you're keeping it concise, you're tagging people, because when you tag people, you're actually reaching into their network. So everything that you do is amplified in their network as well. But it's that, gosh, I could talk about branding for years. But
No,
it's
we
just
love it.
taking your post and sharing it with others.
Thank you. So, and I will share that one of the returners who was on last week's call did that. And it was a very sweet message and we appreciate that. But by all means, ladies, everyone on this call, use us, because we are a platform to help you get noticed, get recognition on LinkedIn, get a job. So you tag me every day. I mean, you had a lot of information, and so all of you on the call, we are going to be sharing all of Aimee's tips to you. But so, like, let's say someone is really jazzed, having heard everything you said, and they're going to sit at their laptop after they go get a drink and put into action on their LinkedIn right now 3 things. What 3 things do you suggest that they do?
Gosh, well, the first thing that I suggest is don't start posting on LinkedIn until you've cleaned up your digital footprint and until you've figured out your USP, your unique selling proposition. Come up with your consistency of messaging, figure out what your values are, figure out what your mission is, figure out what your vision is, because those 3 things will guide your posts moving forward with everything you do. So it's before you are eager to put things into action, have that retrospection, have that self-inflection, and figure out who you are as a brand, who you want to have others feel about you. And then at that point in time, you can start taking that feeling and putting it into words.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. We have gone a little bit over. And it looks like everyone hung on extra long. In the chat, there are some resources, not only from Aimee, but from WBW as well. We did put Aimee's LinkedIn profile in the chat. So we know that she's not going to mind if all of you link in with her. She's got a ton of amazing information, and there will be more to come for all of you. So please do that. And I want to thank all of you for attending. Aimee, we cannot thank you enough. This was awesome. This was action items that we can do in our job search to get moving in the search. And I love the fact that when I asked for the 3 things, it wasn't like, go change your picture on LinkedIn. It was like, we got to think about it. What do we want to do? What are our strengths? What do we love to do? And when you do that, and I'll just speak from experience, when I was looking for after my layoff, I loved what I did, but I wanted to do something different. And I wanted something to speak to my heart. That's what I wanted. And here I am at Women Back to Work, doing something that takes my experience and what I was so good at, but doing something that I truly love. And so this is my wish to all of you on this call, that you have the wonderful and great fortune that I have had. So, but to do that, I had to do the same thing. What did I want to do? Really, what was I good at? What did I love? What do I want to do? I thought about that long and hard and said no to some opportunities because it wasn't what I loved. It wasn't what I was passionate about. And then I got the call from Women Back to Work, and it was like, that's what I want to do. So again, I wish that for all of you. Aimee, you're a super rock star. We would love to have you back. And I cannot, just on behalf of everyone on the call, thank you. This was amazingly helpful. And as Aimee said, everyone, we want this platform to be helpful. And this is Aimee's way of paying it forward. As she has said, other people have helped her. Now this is in her turn, helping all of us on the call. So we really, really appreciate it. And again, I thank all of you for attending. And I hope to see you all next week, Tuesday at 12 noon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Aimee. See you next Power Hour session. Bye-bye.
See you next Power Hour, everyone.